Sit Down Bestie, the mother of an incel, if you don't know, has reached out to me and told me her entire experience raising this man and a lot of horrible freaking story times that she has had to experience. If you haven't seen the TikTok video, I will cover that again on like what her final breaking point was. But if you have, I'm gonna like put little skips so you don't have to relive that experience. Because if you don't know, this is your emotional support squishmallow for you to hold. You're going to need that while we film this. Don't worry, I am going to put pause breaks because even I already know I'm going to struggle with this. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to need some breaks so I don't vomit on camera. So this mother left her abusive husband whenever her son was 2 years old. There was a lot of legal back and forth, right? Because he had a lot of money and she didn't. And there's a lot that goes into, like, I volunteer in domestic violence. I've seen it. There's a lot that happens in that situation. It's not all like you see on TV. Well, she ends up finally getting, she said he was 9 years old when she started to get like where she could see him every other weekend and stuff, but she still didn't see him very often, didn't have a lot to do with his raising. And no matter how many times she brought up the concerns with like how his father was raising her, courts would not listen, would not grant, because he had money, could afford the good lawyers, and she just couldn't. Now, whenever her son turned 16, he moved in with her, and she has talked about so much, like, there are so many times she tells, like, in her entire story, how much she regrets not doing more back then, because he did not move out with her, out of her house until he was 29 and got kicked out. Now, when he first moved back in, she missed a lot of red flags. She said she really struggled telling him no, especially knowing what he went through with his father, and she feels really guilty now because back then she felt so guilty to say no, but now she talks about how she wishes like other parents that are going through this will tell their sons no, because these inbred, non-showering, Magic the Gathering obsessed crap stains on the seats at the tournaments, mother truckers, pheromone maxing dudes, is how this happens. Sorry, I had to get some incense because it's about to get these stories are about to be stinky real quick, girl. Lord. Anyways, am I allowed to have this on YouTube? I don't know. I've never done a YouTube video before. Anyways, not the point. So her first realization was whenever he was 17 years old. So whenever he was 16 and he first moved in, like, she thought it was really weird that she never saw underwear in the laundry basket. Like, she did his laundry, which, I feel like at 16 you should be doing your own laundry. But anyways, not my kid. So she would do laundry and she noticed that like his underwear was just disappearing. Like for a solid year, this boy never had any underwear. She kept having to buy him more underwear. He never had any underwear in the laundry basket. And anytime she would try to talk to him, he would just dismiss it. But she was still like breaking in like that relationship full time and everything. So she didn't know. She's like, I didn't want to push it by asking. Girl, I would've. As a parent myself, ain't no damn way I'm gonna ignore your underwear being missing for a year. So finally, one day, she is like, what is going on? Like, he also was not showering regularly and was wearing a lot of Axe body spray, which, Lord, that gives me flashbacks. This man was literally just like constantly Axe body spraying himself instead of showering. Big shocker there, right? Finally, she's like, okay, I've had it. Like, something is going on. And this is when he was still in a bedroom downstairs before he moved into the attic. So she kept smelling something too. And she was trying to like, I don't want to like damage the relationship by like invading his privacy. So she put up for a year. She regrets that very greatly because she goes into his room and it's not as bad as what will happen later when he moved into the attic, because she said it was really dirty and nasty, but she was like, oh, it's just teenage boy. I'll clean it out. This poor woman goes under his bed and there's an entire pile, like massive pile of different level of like old, like shitty underwear. This boy was just repeatedly shitting his pants and just piling it up under the bed for an entire year. She said there wasn't a year's worth under there, but there was like majority of it. And she still to this day has no idea what he did with the rest of it. So she ends up getting all of these doo-doo stained tidy whities and boxers all put into a trash bag. She stops cleaning the rest of the room, which she's talked about. Like, she said she heavily regrets because she was so grossed out in that moment. She did not continue to clean his room because she just wanted to confront him about this. And she's like, I really wish I had, because some of the stuff that he confessed to later, which I am going to cover. So she ends up confronting him about this bag of like nasty underwear about it, and he starts crying and stuff, and he's like, oh well, I just really struggle with accidents, adjusting to being in a new home and stuff, which he does later admit. You'll see he was completely lying in that moment. He just said that. But he was like, oh, I was really struggling to adjust, blah, 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 blah. So she's like, do you need a therapist? Do you need help? She's offering him services, and he's like, no, I'm getting over it now. And then he offers to start doing his own laundry, which, I mean, yay that he's taking responsibility, but you're going to later find out that he did that just to cover up that he did continue to do this up until the age of 29 when she kicked him out, and probably still does it to this day if we're going off my guess from my experience of working with and being around people like that. Former GameStop employee and a former small card shop. Yeah, I strongly believe he's probably still out there doing this. So she keeps going on with life for the next few months. He's getting ready to graduate. Prom and everything's going up, and she says he would never want to go out to any of those things. And any time like she would ask him about that, he would get super hostile and give all these excuses why women didn't want him, and like it was all women's fault and that he did nothing wrong. And she said she did try to bring up his hygiene before, because apparently he had like pretty bad hygiene issues, right? And to the point where he had a couple of friends that were in the neighborhood that were coming over to like still see him, and got to the point where they would not come over anymore. And at the time, she did not know why. He gave this whole like story about how they were so mean and they were just jealous of him and blah, blah, blah. She did end up finding out later, no, those boys stopped hanging out because of the disgustingness of him. Like, this guy, God, you're just... prepare yourself. I gave you the squishmallow for a reason, because it just keeps getting worse. So prom comes around, right? And he skipped junior prom, but he decided he was going to go to senior prom, right? And he does not have a date or anything, and she's a little concerned that night because he, didn't have anybody he was going with, but then somehow ended up staying out really late. And she was worried because he would already started like being really seclusive at this point. He was 18 years old and still like barely leaving his room. He didn't have any friends coming anymore. He went from like only showering once or twice a week to now she was only seeing him shower like once a month, and he was just spending all his time in his room on video games. The room stunk. Like she could kind of smell it coming from there, and he always he would clean it up. They would get in these huge like fights back and forth, and then he finally cleaned up some, but he would never let her in there, especially after he turned 18. She is working on this whole plan to like move him into the attic and everything, but she at this point had not moved him in there. So prom night, he's still not home, and she's like, okay, like with everything that's been going on recently, the stuff I just explained, she's getting a little worried. She goes into his bedroom. She's like, I don't care. I don't care about the privacy that we just discussed. She goes into his bedroom, and it's actually not too bad. She said there was some like food trash and stuff, but it wasn't as bad as before. But she was trying to figure out where the smell was coming from. So she still ended up deep diving, and she was worried that there was underwear stuffed under the bed again. It was not underwear this time. Girl, you better not be eating, because it's about to get real bad. She goes under his bed and finds seven, yep, 5 and 2 put together, 7 homemade pocket pussies made out of different inanimate objects. This is a pause point, so oh shoot, I just spilled it all over me. Anyways, it's fine. This is a pause point to hydrate and breathe before I explain to you what these were made out of, because she went into great depth. Okay, you good? Because these 7. So 2 of them, she said, were just like the normal jailhouse kind of like pocket pussy, where they like put socks together and then like put a condom in it with lotion. But then they just got weirder from there. So one was this like slime substance that he had put in balloons and like put inside like a condom in between and duct taped them all together. I don't know what this guy ended up being really obsessed with duct tape apparently, because this story ends up with a lot of duct tape. Not sure why. I don't want to know. So then he has the slime one, but then she found one that she's pretty sure the smell was coming from, because it was freaking fruit puree. Like, he had gotten cans of, like, she had, like, canned fruit and stuff, and he was pureeing them, because she found the cans under there, too, and putting them in balloons and duct taping them together with the condom and the lotion, so that, yeah, and the fruit was rotting, obviously, because it's pureed fruit. What do you expect? Like, what? So, she immediately is, like, already grossed out, but she's like, I still gotta keep pulling, because she was pulling them, like, one out at a time. She did not realize there were 7 yet, She's only, oh gosh, I'm telling you, I feel so bad for this woman. She's only, like, 5 down, right? She gets another one out from under the bed. And it's, once again, it's balloons with duct. I don't know where this man, what kind of Reddit 4chan shit he read that, like, just stuff a bunch of stuff full of balloon, and tape it up. But apparently that was, like, I don't know. I don't want to know. Please don't tell me in the comments. I just work here, ma'am. Like, this is just we just FaceTiming with our besties, okay? I don't know where he got it from. She said the other balloons had, how do I say this? You know what? Fuck it. It had cum in it. It had his own fucking cum in it. He was coming in the fucking balloons and then taping them together so that he uses a pocket pussy. I don't know what drugs, what substances do you have to be on for that? She said the last one she feels like was just like weird hair gel or something. She could not figure out what it was. She said wasn't like slime or anything, but it was also had like the consistency of hair gel. But it's the cum one that gets me. You're telling me this man was jerking it into balloons and then saving them to make a pocket pussy out of them. I need the emotional square. I'm going to need to turn with this, okay? Because this is why I said we have to have pause breaks. Okay, so he comes home, and she's obviously, like, livid, like, the fuck is wrong with you? And she's also pissed because she's like, why were you out so late? You didn't have anybody you went with, blah, blah, right? She is like, he took his backpack to prom too, so, like, she'd be a little worried, make sure he wasn't a school pew-pewer or something, Can I say that word on YouTube? I don't fucking know. Anyways, we're gonna call it a pew-pewer just in case, okay? Because they get mad at me on TikTok for saying that word. So she's, like, raiding his bag, and she finds that he had bought a real pocket pussy. That's what was taking him so long. He had went somewhere to do it with a real pocket pussy. I don't know what the point is. Like, dude, with everything you did in your bedroom, why are you suddenly conservative and worried? Like, why are you going out, like, celebrating prom night with a pocket? All due respect, sir, just buy a hooker. Just buy a hooker. If you're, like, there are women you can pay to deal with your bullshit, sir. Okay? What the fuck was, anyways, okay? Has a whole big fight about it, right? And she ends up feeling bad for him. They get into an argument. He explains, like, he's having all these issues with girls and friends again and blah, blah, blah. And, like, everybody just keeps leaving poor him. And it's all because, they end up at screaming match and he's guilt tripping her about, like, oh, it's because dad did this, did blah, blah, blah. And all this stuff I had to go through in my childhood and you weren't there. And, like, blaming her basically till she ends up feeling super guilty. And they call it a rest for the night. He swears he's going to throw all of them away and everything. And they decide they're going to, like, go to bed for the night and the next day have a conversation. The next day they end up having this conversation about him moving into the attic, like, where she'd been planning on surprising him with that and stuff. He's going to get the full attic while he's going to school or working. And she's like, you got to go to school or working, which backfired because he ended up doing neither. Big spoiler alert. Well, he did end up working. We're going to get into that in a second because that somehow, Lord, I feel bad for anybody that had to work with this man. But she decided, he's going to go on dating apps and stuff. She's going to sign him up for eHarmony and other things like Match.com so that he can meet people, right? And she's like, I'm going to, bring you to my church group with me. Like, there's little mini groups there. That way you can meet people. And she thinks that this is going to get it under control. And it was under control, apparently, for a little bit that she thought. She thought it was getting under control. He moves into the attic and everything. What she didn't know is this is about to get much worse. But he starts getting, like, fast food jobs, and he starts hanging out at church. and she's thinking it's going good. She's not in the groups at the church that he's in with. Um, and then with the job thing is he did work at McDonald's. Like she saw him working at McDonald's. She knew he got the job and everything. But then all of a sudden she said he told her that his shift had been switched. So all of a sudden he's like on midnights and everything. And then he suddenly doesn't want her to like carpool with him to the church groups anymore. He's like, oh, I want to go by myself. I want to go by myself. Big shocker. None of that was true. He had been fired, and the church groups had kicked him out. Now, she was busy working Sundays at the time, so she had not been to church for a while. And because they were going to two separate groups, and it was like a larger church, people did not know. Like, she did not know what had happened in the church group, but she was about to find out because she finds up going on a Sunday, she finally ends up going on a Sunday and talking to a church member. A church member approaches her and is like, hey, like, I haven't seen you outside. You know, I know you do the groups, but I don't do any group. Like, I haven't seen your regular service for a while. Like, I'm so sorry about your son. Like, is he doing better? And she's like, is he doing better? Like, what are you talking about? Like, because she had never told, like, the church what was going on before. So she, like, to them, at least what she thinks, is that he's just, like, you know, in this church group and he's working and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what are you talking about? Now, take your breath or break for a second. Get your soda. Take a sip of water, whatever you need. Calm yourself. Take a Zofran, whatever it is, or Tums if you need that. Because I'm about to tell you what happened to the church group and the McDonald's. Okay, you good? Because you're not about to be. Okay, so he had been fired from McDonald's like a few weeks before this, and she did not know because, like I said, sorry, I have to have the smell goods going because, like, the mental image, I'm not going to be able to handle it, okay? You have no idea how many breaks I had to take reading these stories because they just keep getting worse. So, at the McDonald's, he had gotten fired because not only had they written him up twice before for hygiene because he kept smelling like really bad because he was not showering at this point. She said whenever she found out McDonald's thing, she said she could not remember the last time he had showered, like when she found out about this. So she wasn't surprised. Gee, many crickets incense. Anyways, at least it smells good here. I can promise I shower. Like, I got the deodorant stains on my shirt and everything, girl. But he not only had the hygiene problems, but the final straw was they found out he had been messing with females' food. So he was like a line guy, like the guy, if you've never worked fast food, like they have the line where you build the burger. So like the grill cooks, you know, and then all them pull the stuff over and you build the burgers. And you can see like the front, right? So if in a lot of them, not all McDonald's and fast food and stuff, but a lot of them, you can actually see the front. Like you can see the cashier and stuff checking people out. And anytime a like traditionally attractive woman would come in, he would mess with the food. Fuck. He had been caught because multiple coworkers had seen him when a hot woman would come in. He would like do this turn thing with his body whenever he would like have the sandwich. Now they did not have it on camera because they like checked the camera roll and you could see him turn, but you could not see what he was actually doing with the food. And finally, another coworker kind of got like curious what the heck was going on, and caught him in the act, and he was lifting it up and rubbing it on his stomach, like rubbing the food and then making their sandwiches and serving it to these women. The way I will not be eating McDonald's or any fast food for a very long time. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this, ma'am, because your son is going to be the reason I lose weight. Thank you, because hello, diet, because it took me years to get over the experience that I had while working at Wendy's with the person that messed with food in front of me, like, and now I gotta worry about this. So he ends up going after this to the church group, and he ends up telling the church group this, but makes it seem like he is a victim, which is why they end up being like, yeah, no, even Jesus can't save you. We don't want you in the group anymore. Because he goes into this entire rant with the church group about, like, admitting to everything he's done and stuff, and said that he was doing it because he had found online that, like, rubbing his bodily fluids, like his sweat and stuff on this would make women attracted to him if they consumed that. I don't know who made that post. I'm assuming it was on 4chan. She said she didn't know. Like, he just said it was online. So I'm guessing it was 4chan or Discord or Reddit or whatever. but straight to hell. I hope that your pillows are always hot on both sides and your socks are always wet, because what the fuck is wrong with you? Even if it was a joke that you posted it online, apparently there's guys out there taking it seriously. Okay, I need a breather before we get to the next part. Go sip water. Girl, this ended up being her final, like, breaking moment. Whenever she, like, he's been fired for doing this horrible stuff, and like, the church getting kicked out and stuff, she is so embarrassed. Because she went around asking all these people at church that knew about this, and she was done. So she leaves church early, drives home. He's sitting at home. They get into an entire fight and argument about it, and he's trying to defend it. That's the wildest part. And she says that was her biggest red flag looking back, is he would never take responsibility. Like, he would never take full responsibility, even with, like, the room cleaning and stuff. Like, he would get better for a little bit, start showering for a little bit, and then just go right back to it as soon as he felt like he could get away with it again. You gets in this whole argument, and he's like, no, all this crap, right? So she's just like, I'm done. She's like, go fucking move in with your father. I'm done with this shit. He's 19 years old at this point. He's like 19 and a half. She calls her ex-husband and was like, fucking take him. She's like, I can't deal with this shit anymore. He's like, fine, I'll fucking go back to him. And as he's leaving, he starts guilt tripping her about how this is all her fault. He's doing this is your fault for not being around again, blah, 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 like, everything I went through, this is all mommy's fault, right? And she's like, fine, if it's all my fault, fuck off, right? Good on you, girl. I'm just a little upset that you took him back. But he leaves. He did not take all of his stuff. He just took a few bags, goes to his dad. Now, she said that it was this mixture time period, because for the 4 months he was gone, she felt so insanely guilty because, her ex-husband was abusive and stuff, but she kept trying to tell herself, like, he's 19 years old now, like, he's a grown man, like, she's like, I can't keep condoning this stuff. This is getting worse and worse. But she also said it was the most peaceful 4 months she'd had in years. Like, she's like, I don't know how to explain it. Until one night, she gets the phone call. He calls, and he's like, hey, I just got into a physical altercation with my dad, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was this whole fist fight. She shows up, and he's, like, both of them have bruises on them. Now, her son is, like, a lot more fucked up. But because they both have bruises on them, they decide not to call the police. And she just decides to let him back in because this motherfucker lied to her, for one thing. He initially told her, and, like, she did not find out till after he moved out, like, the kick out point, 10 years almost later. Well, it's like, she said it was like 9.5, but 9.5 years later. So he had told her, like, that this was all about money and stuff, even though, like, the dad had a lot of money. Like, he was like, oh yeah, he's trying to take all my money and wants access to my bank accounts and blah, blah, blah. Even though this man had, like, $5 to his name, because he was always, like, losing jobs, right? Like, he had that one job at McDonald's. He got, like, 2 more while he was there at that 4 months. Like, his dad had gotten him, and he just got fired, like, within a week or two for inappropriate behavior with female coworkers. Had a long history of that. So, finally, she's like, oh, I just feel bad. She just moves him back in. And the dad's like, don't ever fucking come back again. The dad didn't even tell the side at that time. And, she was in an abusive relationship with this man. She doesn't even want to talk to him. So I get why she did not ask his side of things at that time. So he moves back in. He moves into the attic, and it just becomes this, like, really strained relationship where for several years he had a bathroom up there. If you haven't seen the TikTok, he had his own bathroom up in the attic. And he would come down, he would get jobs every now and again, but he would never be there very long. So she was just basically paying for his existence. And anytime she would get to the point and try to, like, bring something up, he would guilt trip her about, like, not being there in the past and remember what dad did to me, blah, 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 I'm so traumatized. But then also would never go to therapy. Like, she tried to get him help, and he would refuse. I feel so bad for this one. I mean, like, it's this mixture because, like, part of it is her fault, but, like, I also feel bad for her at the same time. So, because she did try to get him help several times, and, like, I know with, like, cognitive development and everything, a lot of that happens before the age of 14. So, like, that was, cemented in there before she had anything to do with it. So, finally, it gets to the point where he is rarely leaving the house. He's not even trying to work anymore. Those last couple of years she was there, like, he was there with her. He's not even trying to work. He never got his driver's license. And, like, he had gotten a permit before, and would drive with that, but he literally never got his actual license. Like, he had kept getting permits. Technically, he was driving illegally in a way, because you're supposed to have, like, somebody in the car with you, but he was not even doing that. He was just getting permits and, like, would not get his actual license. I don't know why. Fuck if I know, right? But let's get to the breaking point. You've seen the video on TikTok, because this is saran wrap, but I am going to go more in depth this time, just to warn you. So, you know, hold your squishmallow while you can. So her breaking point, if you've not seen the TikTok video, warning, this is going to get really gross, do not eat. People have regretted it. So, there's one night she's like, their relationship's already straight. He's barely leaving the attic and everything. There's also, she's had to get like fumigation and like bug treatments and like mouse treatments a couple of times, and she couldn't figure out why, because her house is like cleanliness, like her house is clean. So why? It's because the attic lady. Okay, I would have checked the attic a long time ago, but so she is baking and cooking one night. She needs saran wrap, and this is one of the few times that he left the house. Now, he had been banned from the local GameStop. She found out later. Sorry, Game Store, not GameStop. The Game Store is why he kept driving an hour to the other one. She didn't find that out till after. So he ends up, he's out, and she's like, I need my saran wrap. Do you know where it went? He's like, oh yeah, it's in my attic, but don't go up there. I'll go up there when I get home. She's like, I'm done with this shit. I'm in my own damn house now. You try to gatekeep my saran wrap. I'm going up there. She goes up there, immediately regrets it. It is like a full episode of Hoarders. He had his own bathroom. She said, ironically, the shower did not look dirty because he wasn't fucking using it, lady. That's why. Okay? But there was shit streaks all over the toilet. The bed was stained, like it had a spot. She ended up having to throw the bed. She literally had to throw away everything in that room and paid $17,000 to remodel it whenever, like, he finally, once she kicked him out. But she's still looking for the saran wrap, remember? She's still looking for the saran wrap. There's so many Hoarders bottles of piss, even though the bathroom's right there. He was like peeing in bottles, all this rotted, molded food, right? And then she sees this saran wrap, and it's over by the collection of anime figures that are all lollies, like they're little girls, like they were little girl anime figures. Like figures of little anime girls, not figures for little girls, but figures of little anime girls, like lollies. Look that up if you don't know what it is. And he had wrapped them up in saran wrap, and there was cum all over them. All over them. There was cum all over them because he had used the saran wrap to try to protect them to prevent damage. Yeah, so she snapped. He gets home, and they get a scream match. She completely kicks him out. Like I said, she paid $17,000 to like fix, because she had to rip the carpet up, walling, everything. She had to redo the bottom. It was so nasty that she had to pay $17,000 to fix it. She has had some contact with him. He still refuses to take responsibility and says that he did absolutely nothing wrong, and that it's all like these women that rejected him's fault and blah, 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 and his managers at his old job's out to get him, and that it's all her fault too. He literally still does not take responsibility. This happened 3 years ago. He is now 32 years old. Has never taken responsibility. She is no contact, but she like checks on him through family members that have contact with him. From what she knows right now, he is on Section 8. She is worried that he might lose it if they ever do an inspection, because she's pretty sure he does not clean. Like, she's talked to a couple family members that have stopped by and visited him, and he does not. Like, they said it's just as bad as that room was. Like, she showed me some pictures. I'll have to ask if it's okay to share those, because right now she hasn't told me if I could share those or not. But yeah. Please parent your kids. Tell them no. It does not matter how much guilt you feel about the past or whatever. Tell your kids no. Take them to therapy. Do not put up with their shit. Oh, by the way, the underwear thing, he admitted when they were like in their heated argument before he left, he admitted that the reason why he never, why he had all the shit streaks in his underwear is because he never wiped his butt, because he had read online, which I don't know where you read it at, and whoever posted that, you're going straight to hell, but, he had read online that wiping your butt, like touching your butt to wipe it, or even cleaning it in the shower, if you touched near your butthole, that made you gay. That's not how being gay works, and I don't know who's telling people this, but straight to hell, because even if you meant it as a joke, apparently somebody thought it was serious, at least one person, because that man is, like, all I can think of is the fact that means that man has never wiped his butt or washed it in the bath or shower since reading that post, because he thinks it's going to make him gay. I have no words. Here's an emotional support dinosaur for your dreams tonight to protect you from the nightmares, because you're going to have some after that.